Hey friends, humans, and Gelfling! Welcome to part 3, the final episode in this cosplay making series. Thank you for following along thus far. If you missed part 1 and 2, go check that out for the making of the full outfit, from purchasing the fabrics all the way down to the detailing process. Today I'll be showing you how I made my Gelfling ears and wig, as well as how I did the makeup, and finally putting everything together for Comic-Con. This cosplay is so close to being done, so let's go finish it! Today we're going to start with the wig. This is a pretty standard wavy blonde wig that I found on Amazon. I'm gonna start by separating a top and a bottom layer. Deet has short and fluffy hair on top, with long strands of braids underneath. I started quite a bit longer than I needed, that way I can take it up with layering. I'm using the sliding motion so I don't have any hard edges, but still a haphazard and sort of choppy look. To get these bottom strands out of the way, I'm going to start separating them out with braids and small hair ties. Teasing the wig up with a brush will also make it even more fluffy and messy, similar to Deet's. I'm going to go back in and take the length up a bit and make it more consistent all around. I've added some ribbon to cover the small black hair ties, and later added the beading as shown in part 2. And then she's good to go. Next up are the Gelfling ears. I'm going to start by sketching out the size and the shape of the ears that I'm looking for. I couldn't find any pre-made prosthetic ears online that are similar to Groton ears specifically, so I decided to make mine out of Warbler thermoplastic. I purchased mine online, but I recently heard that some craft stores are carrying it now, which is really cool, but I have not seen it. I'm tracing my ear pattern on the Warbler and cutting it out. The scraps can always be remolded, so I will save them for later. Now if you're not familiar, Warbler is a thermoplastic that's hard when it's cooled, but completely moldable when heated to over 90 degrees. If you're going to try this out, you want to protect any surfaces that are not heat resistant, especially when using a tool such as a heat gun. You always want to keep your heat source moving, as Warbler can burn and then it becomes unusable. I'm going to bend it into a more ear-like shape, reheating it as necessary. So I don't get any bad plasticky looking edges, I'm going to roll these in as well. Next I'm going to go in and sand down the edges. Because this creates plastic dust, make sure you're wearing a face mask or some sort of respirator if you're going to do this step. Now my original idea was to make these like ear caps that sit over top of my ear and mostly stay in place on their own, but also be fastened with a string. But I decided that this wasn't going to be sturdy enough, and I didn't want any Gelfling ears falling off if they got bonked. So I went down to CVS and I grabbed a chonky headband and decided to attach them straight onto there. I found that hot glue actually works pretty well with thermoplastic since it is heat activated. I'm going in and just reinforcing it with tape. It doesn't look glamorous, but it won't be seen, and the more durable the better. So when I put them on, I realized that the wig was not going to fit over top, pardon the early makeup tests here. So I decided to slot in the ears into the wig so it all became one piece. Warbler needs quite a few layers of paint, so I'm going to use an acrylic. I ended up having to repaint these 4 or 5 times anyway in order to match the color of my face once I figured out the shade of the makeup. I'm going to pull my hair back just to make sure it's out of my face. Because Groton don't have eyebrows, I'm going to have to cover mine up. I'm using a regular Elmer's glue stick to help the hair lay flat against my face. I'm brushing it down to really work in the glue, and then adding another thick layer to cover the hair texture. This is the first time I'm trying this, and yes, it feels super weird. Once the glue is completely dry, I'm going to use my regular skin tone foundation to lighten the area in order to match the surrounding skin before putting the color on. These are the main palettes I'll be using for your reference. I'm going to use 2 cream-based palettes for the face. The first from Mayron. I'm going to start with the dark green and basically pat that down all over my face. This is from my previous test where I did most of the face with this color. I decided that doing full coverage with this would be a little bit too dark and muddy. Without having too much time to order new colors online, I ended up stopping by a nearby Spirit Halloween store and finding this really cool gray-green corpse color. So that's what I ended up using for the highlights. And I'm using a Ben Nye black and brown cream palette for the nose and the lips. I went in with the 3-step contouring palette to bring out the warm tones around the cheekbones and the eyes. Next, I'm applying some black around the eyes to make them appear a little bigger. Make sure you use a lot of setting powder, and this should last you the day. And then the makeup is done. Okay, so one piece of the costume that I didn't make is the wings, and these are made by Fancy Fairy Angela. I'll put her website and Instagram below. These ones specifically are actually stolen from Bernadette, so my best guess to how these are made, I believe it's a laser cut metal that's going through the base here, and then covered on both sides by this iridescent plastic film. It's pretty durable, it's not gonna warp if you just touch it, but it's not great for crowds. So, and then it has this back piece here that just slots into whatever you're wearing. So very easy, looks super cool. So for the con, I decided not to wear them just because of the sheer amount of crowds. I did not want to be worried about people running into them or damaging them. So anyway, thanks to Bernadette for letting me borrow these. The photos came out super cool, and I'm really excited. The other two pieces I did not make are these green pants, which I've owned for a while, and these brown boots that I found at an outlet shoe store. Now it's time to get dressed. I'm starting with the green underdress, where now you can actually see the little peaked shoulders, and the wrist ties I added to the sleeves to make them a little more puffed. I added wing slots in the back as well. Now that nothing else is going over my head, I can do my hair and makeup. I'm going to put on the skirt wrap and tie it in the back. Next, I'm slotting in the wings, and then putting on the coat. Last up, I am tying the belt, and then the wrist ties. And it is done. I had such an amazing time at Comic-Con, and I cannot wait to see what adventures next year will bring. And there you have it. Thank you all for your wonderful comments, messages, and support while making this cosplay and series. I do have plans for more upcoming videos on cosplay, puppetry, and more. Now, I do currently work a full-time design job, so I do not have a regular posting schedule yet, but I absolutely loved making this video series, and you haven't seen the last of me yet. So be sure to subscribe and get that notification. My name is Danny. I am finally going to go read all my new comics, and as always, go make something cool.
We're going to Comic-Con! We're going to Comic-Con!